Hello and welcome to our channel. For this video, I'm just going to do alcohol ink swirl. I'm starting off with 20 milliliters of epoxy, and I'm just going to get that spread evenly throughout the tumbler. Then for this one, we're just going to do greens, browns, and then the black from the base on the tumbler. Once I get the epoxy spread throughout the whole tumbler, I just let it sit for a few seconds and try to even it out before I start adding any alcohol inks to it. I like just adding the epoxy with my gloved hand. I feel like I can get a better feel of the epoxy that way. On the black bases, you can see the coverage a lot better. On a white base, it's hard to see. So the gloved hand helps me to make sure that the epoxy is spread evenly throughout the whole thing. I sped up the epoxy process because most people have seen enough videos that they know how to spread epoxy on. And here I just let it spin for a few seconds just to try to level the epoxy out before I start adding the alcohol inks. Like I said, for this one we're going to just do greens and brown. When you add the alcohol inks to the black tumbler, it's very hard to see anything on video until you add the white. After you add the white, the colors really start popping out, so you can see it a lot better. Here I'm just using cheap alcohol inks that I found on Amazon. I don't even know for sure what the brand was. I bought a few different ones. Here's some brown that I'm adding to it. No rhyme or reason on where I'm putting the dots, just putting them on there. I usually cover the tumblers pretty well. I don't want a whole lot of the base showing through. It's a lot easier to see the dots of alcohol ink in real life instead of in the video. In the video, it's hard to see that I'm adding anything at all, but it's still pretty dark even looking at it in person. Now, the only alcohol ink that I use a brand of is the white. I use Pinata white just because of the way it turns out. The cheaper brand whites aren't very opaque or whatever. They don't show the color near as well as what I've found at the Pinata white. As you can see, the colors are really starting to show up now, just adding white ink on top of the drops of colors. Like I said, for this one, I don't want a whole lot of the black showing through. I do want some of it so I don't completely cover it, but I add quite a bit of color to the tumbler. Now once I'm kind of happy with the coverage and the colors, then I'll start tilting it up and down just to encourage some movement other than just the movement from the tumbler turning. Here I'm just adding a little bit more colors on top of the white alcohol ink. It just helps covers the white up more and helps the colors pop through some. I did another one, same exact colors, but I used a white base and then added black also to it. At the end of the video, I'll put the two together so you can see the difference between the white base and the black base. Here I'm just letting it spin a little bit just to see how the movement looks, see if I need to add any more colors anywhere. No matter what you do, it will change as it spins. So the final product never looks the same as when you're working on it. You never really know what it's going to look like until it dries. So here I'm just lifting the turner, letting it spin while I'm lifting it. Sorry about being a little bit out of frame there. This just helps the ink run up and down as it's spinning. Gives a little bit more of a different effect than if you would just leave it spin on the turner itself. He said same way, I'm just tilting it down now so it runs the other way. You do have to be careful. If you do it too much, the epoxy will start to drip off of either end as you're tilting it like that. So you just watch and make sure that the epoxy is not starting to drip off the end of it. So there was one spot right there that I just wanted a little bit more on. So I added a drop of white to it. See how it looks. See if I need to add a little bit more color to it also. So once I like the colors, now I'm adding just a little bit of heat to it just to get it to move just a little bit. Adding the heat will just heat up the epoxy and it'll make the colors start to swirl together a little more. As you can see, I'm not getting real close to the heat gun. I'm staying pretty far back. There I got a little closer just because I want that one spot to move a little bit. And a lot of this, I'm not adding as much heat as I am just the air from the heat gun. I actually have the heat turned down on it. So I warm it up enough just to get it moving, and then I try to use the air itself just to move some stuff around, some of the colors. Just keep adding stuff to it as you like. Just make it look the way you want it to kind of look, and realize that it is going to change as the epoxy starts to cure and harden up. You have to kind of pause and just look. As I was pointing at there was a few little fish eyes that if you add too much of the alcohol inks, it will leave a little bit of a fish eye in the epoxy. I use a popsicle stick and just try to fill those areas back in. I just try to kind of get the epoxy to move back into that little fish eye. I don't worry about the colors on the popsicle stick that's in the epoxy, because it'll just swirl with the other colors that are already on the tumbler. You can also get fish eyes if you don't clean the tumbler. The oil from your fingers will cause the epoxy not to stick in certain spots. So I try to clean the tumblers with 91% alcohol before I start adding any epoxy. So here I'm just going to move it over to the drying turner, or the curing turner that I have. I have a turner set up with 12 different arms on it, so I can cure 12 tumblers at a time. And I'm just kind of tilting it up and down just to check the swirls on it, get the epoxy to move in those directions a little bit more. As I'm tilting it, I'm trying to turn it a little bit just to keep the epoxy from dripping. Just checking over the whole thing. I have it next to the one on the right is the one with the white base, compared to the one on the left that we just finished with the black base. Same exact colors, but you can see the difference in them. And here's the finished product. This and all of our tumblers can be purchased at iowacustomcrafters.com. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.